if you stop doing this, or if you expect to get returns within the first 2-3 years, then usually you're just delusional, and that's not happening. And what most people are doing is that after the 2-3 years, they are then seeing, okay, so no results, let's jump into something else, and let's hope that this will be lucky there. And I had also done the similar thing beforehand. So this time I decided that if I've already spent so much time and energy into building a persona and relationships within Web3, I have to stick to it.
GM und herzlich willkommen im NFT und Web3 Insider Podcast, der Podcast, der dem deutschsprachigen Web3 Space eine Stimme gibt und wo wir gemeinsam in die aufregende Welt der Evolution des Internet eintauchen. Ich bin Fabian und hier bekommst du interessante praxisbezogene Use Cases, die zeigen, welches Potenzial eigentlich hinter Web3, NFTs, dem Metaverse und den ganzen neuen Technologien steckt, sodass du die Möglichkeiten auch für dich oder für dein Business nutzen kannst. Und du bekommst spannende persönliche Geschichten von meinen Gästen und der Gast heute hat eine besonders interessante persönliche Geschichte und eine besonders interessante Sicht auf das Thema Web3, hat dort eine ganze Menge mitgemacht, eine ganze Menge durchgemacht und ich glaube, jeder, der schon länger im Space aktiv ist, kann da sehr, sehr gut mitfühlen oder hat eine ähnliche Erlebnis vielleicht durchgemacht. Ich finde es auf jeden Fall super inspirierend, wie Sander seine Geschichte teilt und wie gesagt auch seine Sicht auf den Web3-Space und welche Potenziale er vielleicht auch in der Technologie sieht. Sander ist mein Gast heute. Sander Ganzen ist Organisator von der BananaConf, der Banana Conference, ehemals NFT Tallinn. Daher das Interview auch auf Englisch. Doch wie gesagt, ich glaube sehr, sehr viel super spannende Erkenntnisse und Insights, die Sander hier teilt. Wir tauchen ein in seine persönliche Geschichte, in das Thema, wie er auf das Web3 gekommen ist, was er heute eigentlich macht mit der Banana Corp auch, warum es überhaupt sich um Bananen dreht, ne, was eigentlich hinter diesen Bananen steckt. Und natürlich gibt es am Ende auch was für dich als Hörerin, Hörer, nämlich Rabattcodes für die Banana Conference, warum das so spannend ist und warum die BananaConf ganz anders ist als viele Events, die bisher so in diesem Space sind. Das hörst du in dieser Folge und damit will ich gar nicht länger hier weiterreden. Wir steigen ein ins Interview. Meet Sander. Let's go. GM, welcome to the NFT and Web3 Insider Podcast. Sander The Ape, such a pleasure to have you on, man. I'm looking forward to this for a while and I think we have a lot of interesting topics to talk about. But first of all, welcome to the show.
GM, great to be here. And I've also been looking forward to having a chat with you.
And yeah, maybe for the people who don't know you. So the people who do know you, I think they directly have some images because nobody forgets you if they meet you. But for the people who don't know you, maybe you can like introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? So who is Sander?
Yeah, I'm Sander. I come from Estonia, which is one of those small nations up in northeast of Europe, for the many that don't yet know. It's a tech capital with the biggest amount of unicorns and all sorts of other tech wonders happening here. And myself, I've been working in tech for the last 10 plus years as well, primarily with supply chain related tools and companies, but I've also been working with other emerging technologies throughout the whole period, starting with robotics and AI before it was cool, and then I first heard of Bitcoin back in like 2014. Started playing around with some tools and other things in 2015, but finally got more invested into Web3 in March of 2020. And since then, we've been building full-time in Web3. We've been trying to build some solutions. We've been doing some services as well as hosting Web3 events both here in Estonia and outside.
Maybe let's dive a little bit deeper into your journey, because I mean that's pretty early. So for Bitcoin in 2014, or also like starting with the whole Web3 NFTs in March 2020, where it was also maybe before it was really like cool, or before the hype, right? So do you remember how you like heard first of NFTs, for example, and how you get, or what excited you about it?
It took me quite some time to hear about NFTs. And I first, like many, got involved with the cryptosphere through the crypto side. And in our case, we had a family friend that's one of the OGs in Bitcoin in Estonia that came to offer us to buy Bitcoin when it was just like nothing. And so both my father and I were like, why do you ever need such a random coin? The problem was that during the time when Bitcoin was getting started, there were a lot of scam coins, like there are today as well. But at that time, those weren't even on blockchain. Those were just like we are putting out a coin. You can start mining it on this special hardware that we're selling you for thousands of euros. And if you invite your friends, you're going to be able to earn more from them. So basically pyramids. And one of them was OneCoin, and it kind of destroyed all the reputation of every other crypto in this part of the world. So when Asa was coming to us and was like, buy Bitcoin, and we're like, no, we don't need your coin. We have our real businesses. But then in 2015, I went to US, to Silicon Valley, to a school called Draper University, which is run by Tim Draper, who is one of the OG Bitcoin investors as well. And so many of the other students there were building something with crypto on top of Bitcoin. But this still didn't convince me, because when I asked, what are you building? Then one of the answers was, we're taking a Bitcoin ATM, we are putting it into Bronx, and we're taking profits. Like, yeah, and that's drug money. so this was kind of the age where, if you came from Western Europe, if you came from the States, if you came from anywhere outside of Europe, and you didn't really trust your government, then Bitcoin made sense to you. But here in Estonia, we trusted the government, and it did not make any sense for us. And when you saw all the legitimate use cases, it made even less sense. However, I still kept my interest. I looked into it. And when Ethereum came out, then I realized that, okay, so the idea of digital money, I don't really care. But the idea of decentralized compute, that's something I can start looking deeper into, because this allows to solve some of the biggest problems we have been seeing from within the supply chain industry, which is that none of the systems are communicating with each other, because there's no standards that are cross borders. Everyone is still using like tens of different standards to communicate information. And like Ethereum looked for us as a tool that could solve it, but we understood that it's still a little bit early to get started now. That's where also CryptoPunks came out, and other things started popping out, and I started hearing of the things, but I didn't yet get too deep into it. Fortunately, a good friend of mine did, and when we had our daughter, then he made me open a EVM wallet to accept some crypto that she wanted to give to her as a birth present. And so that's how I finally had to jump deeper than just Bitcoin and Ethereum. And when the March 2020 crash happened across the markets, I was like, okay, it might actually be a good time to jump in and do this from the investment perspective. So I took most of my company savings, put them into Bitcoin and Ethereum, and hoped that this was the right thing to do. A couple of months later, it seemed that it was. And I was like, okay, cool. There's something. Let's start digging deeper. And then, of course, like most people, I started looking into altcoins, started looking into NFTs, made some good trades, made some bad trades, and I was content with myself. Didn't go too wild. But after being involved for some time, we realized, okay, the technology actually has gotten to a point where it's legitimate now to be used for real solutions. And as we had just sold one of our companies, and we were planning to start a new one, then we started looking if and how we could utilize blockchain inside the in the products. And as we started building a supply chain protocol, then our first thought was that, okay, so if you're doing something in crypto, you should really try to build a community first, and then start growing with the community. At least that's what we thought at that point. And that's why we decided to launch a NFT project of our own back in September 2021. And the rest is history. So since then, we've been just full only into blockchain, NFTs, and everything else.
That's a so interesting journey because from a lot of aspects, and we take maybe one or two out of it to go deep into it, because I think so. For one can tell that you're really critical. So you're not like, because like probably a lot of people, they jumped in because of the money, right? Especially when everything was hyped and like people wanted to get rich fast, and they jumped in, and maybe probably everyone did some good trades, but did also bad ones. And when everything crashed, like a lot of people lost a lot of what they have earned before, or maybe like lost also what they've invested. And I think that's something you posted once as well, about like the whole, I mean, if you're into it and you enjoy the ride and everything is taking up, but then when everything crashes, it's hard. And probably for some people, they are better off, and some people they are like, probably for them it's harder because they put in probably too much, and I mean, in the end, it's lessons you learned. Let's maybe park this, or like take this topic for a while. The post, I mean, I don't know if you know which one I mean, but I think I could so much relate to it, because you said basically you invested a lot of, you took, like you just said, your company's money and took it into crypto and NFTs, and you really believed in that space and everything developed. But on the other hand, you're still running a company, you're having a family which you take care for, and when everything crashes, and it's hard for one personally, but it's also, if you have like these obligations and the responsibility, it's even harder. And then there comes a point where you have to make a decision, like how to go on, right? Can you maybe take us into this kind of moment or this phase? Because I think like a lot of people can that have been there for the last 1 or 2 years can relate to it. And maybe what were your points where you said, okay, I still believe in the technology, I still believe in some parts of the community building idea, the web3 general concept. So how was this journey like, and what was your point of decision where you said, okay, this is what I change, and this is what I maybe don't change, or this is where I go on?
Yeah. So from my side, I've always been the pro technology person that is looking at the most advanced technologies, sometimes even those that are completely not acceptable at the moment, and tries to play around with those. And oftentimes I understand that if I would be working with some, let's say, more accepted technologies already, I would have made more money. But I try to be on the edge of the next wave all the time, because that's just cooler and more interesting for me. That said, as you also mentioned, I have not been taking stupid risks when it comes to a financial standpoint, especially as when we got started with Web3. I had already been married. We had first kids. We were expecting the second kid, and I realized that like I can't just go full degen, buy only Dogecoin and hope for this to moon. But whatever I do, it has to make sense. Most of it has to be parked in assets which cannot completely vanish. And then of course I can do some degen plays here and there, and that's what I was doing throughout the 2020 2021. But then from the 2022, I realized that I don't really have the time to do all the research to constantly be doing the degen plays. So I had to start focusing more on the long-term aspects. And for a while, things were going quite well for us because, as mentioned, we started building a new startup. We started building a community. We were just on the right time at the right place where almost everyone were making money. And this allowed us to have a team of like 15 people that were working throughout the bull market on the supply chain protocol together with us. However, we realized that's like whatever we were making with NFT sales and everything else, this was still too little to build a big company. So we started right away approaching VCs and everything else. However, we may have initiated some of the processes a little bit too late. And as a result, the moment when we actually started approaching VCs was basically just after Luna collapsed. And we were still hoping that it didn't completely kill us. But looking back, it essentially made it so that no companies were, especially no starting companies, were able to raise big rounds. And so as a result, we wasted some time on trying to raise bigger rounds, couldn't make it happen. Then we pivoted, made some adjustments to raise a smaller round, but this also didn't happen. So at the end of it, unfortunately, in the end of 2022, most of the team decided to step back and focus on things that actually work. Meanwhile, from my side, I decided that if I've already come here, then I have to give this a chance and continue pushing. Because one thing that I've seen previously that I've done wrong is that I jump into something, I start building a name for myself in the field. I start building relationships, traveling around, everything else, and then if you stop doing this, or if you expect to get returns within the first 2-3 years, then usually you're just delusional, and that's not happening. And so what most people are doing is that after the 2-3 years, they are then seeing, okay, so no results, let's jump into something else, and let's hope that this will be lucky there. And I had also done the similar thing beforehand. So this time I decided that if I've already spent so much time and energy into building a persona and relationships within Web3, I have to stick to it. And even if the market is bad, I'll continue pushing and hope for the best. So then basically throughout 2023, we were still trying to do a couple of pivots. We continued organizing the event that we had started in 2022. And a half a year later, I kind of felt that, okay, so things aren't working out at all. Funds are starting to run very low. And had to take some loans and do some other things. And it kind of felt hard. Some would call it burnout. Some would just call it hiccups during the road. And yeah, so for the last summer, I was kind of starting to doubt whether it makes sense to continue or not. Fortunately, I found some other cool dudes and a bigger community that seemed to be believing into what we were now doing. And I stuck through. So now, half a year later, things are looking back up again. The markets are getting better. Everything else is getting nicer. So I hope it was a good decision. But yeah, so I did, in fact, have this hardship time last year, like many had, but decided to stick through to really keep on building relationships and be ready to do something actually meaningful within the space now that things are picking up again.
Thank you so much for sharing this, and it's I find it really inspiring, because it shows what like the journey behind, and if we like forward like a few years and everything has worked out. I mean, it can everything can develop like differently, but if things like play out, everyone, or in that cases, everyone is talking about like luck and stuff like this, but those moments, I think, are the defining moments, right? Where you really struggle, where you had the doubts on everything. It's not like everything is going freely and just easily, but you have really to fight and to. I think it's defining also in terms of the points, how you are thinking about yourself and the space and what you want to do actually. And as you said, building something meaningful, having an impact, right? And so I can totally relate to that. For me, it was the same, with the like lows and the doubts and the thinking of, I put so much in there, in the relationships, in the meeting people, in building stuff, in like talking about it and spreading the word, and still believe, or like had this phase where I was doubting everything, and then found new belief with this network, right? And with probably new ideas. Not, I mean, what we probably thought about, like the technology in 2020 or 2021 is totally different to what we think now. But we had this kind of journey. So thank you so much for sharing it. And let's go into like a little bit more optimistic outlook. I mean, we're obviously still here, and you're still building. So what you currently, or what you just talked about, like you're building with Banana Corp and BananaConf, like really, really great stuff. And this is also reflecting what you like, the journey you just told us. So first question, what is it about bananas, right? I mean, I still remember Lisbon. You brought like, just, I don't know how many bananas it was. You brought like boxes of bananas. So why this name, and what's it about bananas?
Yeah, indeed. For those that don't know, then our company these days is called Banana Corp, and our flagship event that we're organizing is also BananaConf. And when it comes to the banana theme in general, then it has a story, and then there's a story behind the story. It all started with me going to my first NFT NYC event back in 2021, I think. And when I arrived to the event, I didn't know anyone there, because I had never been to a Web3 event in the States. But as I walked through, I was like, "Oh, that's CryptoKongs. I know of them." And they had like a big stand which was just full of bananas. And I was like, "Okay, cool. I can see why." And when we were then half a year later organizing our own first event, then called NFT Tallinn, then that was one of the things that I wanted to bring into the event, is a stand of bananas, simply to bring some more fun energy into it. Because again, coming from the tech industry, having been to tech events around the world, I think more than 100, I would say that most of the events there are boring. Most of the companies are boring. Most of the cultures of the companies are boring. And so if I want to build something, then I want to be involved with things that are not boring. Even though the irony is that I'm also one of the early members of Bored Ape Yacht Club. And yeah, so from the beginning, with all of our companies, we have been trying to bring in fun elements, and thus we also decided to adopt this banana theme for the first event. But then the second story is that as we were building our supply chain protocol, we were looking into building the first demo to be shown at the event. And we were advised by our good friend, the lead author for the ERC 721, the NFT standard, William Entricken. And he was saying that, like, make it something that's super easy so that people can really touch and feel and understand. And we're like, okay, so if we're bringing bananas all the time already, and we know that bananas are coming from far away all the time, which is a hard place to get bananas to Estonia, the supply chain is quite complex, then maybe we can do something which is fun but also educational, and decided to build a demo around the concept of bananas as well. And then from there, when next year we were hosting the next NFT Tallinn, then I just decided to continue with the theme. This time we didn't have the supply chain element there, but we just decided to bring more bananas to the events. And there's two good parts of it. Firstly, it makes a good visual thing to be shown both on stages and across the venue, but also people can go and eat them. So it's two benefits at the same time. So that was how it got started and continued. But when we then planned for the next evolution of the event and all the other initiatives that we're now are building towards, then let's say that we were just creatively poor, and we had no other idea than, like, okay, so if the event had a lot of bananas, we may have as well rename it into BananaConf, because a lot of sponsors and partners were previously said that they don't like it to be called NFT something, because it feels limiting compared to something else. And we didn't want to call it web3 Tallinn or blockchain Tallinn. So we're like, okay, so BananaConf. And then there's like, if it's already BananaConf, we may as well just call the company Banana Corp. and we actually have some other initiatives as well called Banana Ventures and Banana Solutions. So it kind of started with CryptoKongs and continued because we weren't imaginative enough to come up with a better name. But now it's fully on brand, and we stick to it.
I would say it's definitely on brand, and it's a great story, and it's great storytelling, and it's it's probably the opposite of being not creative. It's really creative if you, and as you said, if you combine it, and it's a symbol, right? And also you're rocking your Bored Ape PFP also on several platforms, so it's the apes and bananas fits as well. So I like the idea.
And then at this year's NFT Tallinn, one of our speakers also brought me a banana suit. So now I've been able to rock the banana suit at some other events as well.
Yeah. I think you've had it in Hong Kong, right? So that's what I mean. So people who met you, they definitely will remember. And I mean, it's great. It's distinguishing. And also, you talked about before, which I found really interesting, your view on blockchain, on crypto. And while everyone was like saying, okay, this is like decentralization is key, right? And the decentralized money, I'm with you that for like a lot of countries, this makes so much sense because you cannot trust the government, and then it's a game changer, and you can put your savings there, you can transfer the money, even if you maybe you have family in one of those countries. With crypto, you can just send money without like going to banks and paying like lots of money just for the transfer. And but for like us in the Western countries where we have like digital banking, we have a banking system that we probably trust, maybe trust less now than we did like 2 years ago, or just the general concept of money. But anyhow, I think you were quite realistic from the beginning on, and then questioning also the narratives that were so popular and still are, and also the same for, let's say, NFTs, where, or web3 in general, where everyone was like, oh, it's about decentralization. So I think probably a lot of people don't care that much about decentralization as some others do, and I think it's a good development in general. But like, not it will, from my point of view, not everyone will be like own their assets and their money and everything themselves and be fully decentralized, because this is not how the world works, because people want to have it easy, right? And they just want and that's why there are companies who are like solving problems and make things easier for people. So what is your take on that? So what is Web3? What is the potential of Web3, and maybe also what are you building with BananaCorp in this regard? So do you see it more for the big companies as something, as a piece of technology they can use, or do you see like startups growing there, or like what is like really the, let's say, the concept, the key, the potential of Web3, and how do you use it, or how do you like make this reality with BananaCorp and also BananaConf?
Yeah, let's say that the Web3 technology is a tricky one, because it's very similar to nuclear energy, that it can be used for generating freedom, and it can be used to token gate access. Both things can be happening at the same time and can be good at the same time. And when it comes to the decentralization of finances, then even though it was not something that got me interested initially, then I obviously do use some of the benefits of this by owning most of my assets in my own wallets, by having full control over the costs of what I'm doing, even though sometimes it may end up being more costly, by playing around with different new opportunities and getting access to services that I may not be able to get access to via decentralized services that easily. But at the same time, I do recognize that for most people, this is not going to be the thing that they care or even should try, because if you're still using a easy password like QWERTY for most of your accounts, then I do not suggest you to even touch crypto, because you will lose access to everything. Like, in order to really be able to utilize this technology for the freedom aspect, you have to put yourself a bunch of boundaries, which may include storing your assets on cold storage wallets. It may include um, making sure that you would not click on different links. There's all sorts of other things that you might be doing that most people are not comfortable doing, because for most people they just want to have a easy go life where they can do whatever they feel like. They can go to any party, they can click on any link, and they aren't afraid that they would lose everything, which is something that the centralized world is providing you. But there are some degens like us here that want to be playing on this edge of possibly having too much risk, but at the same time maybe having some good rewards coming as well. Still, when it comes to most of the people, I believe that the future of blockchain technologies is primarily on the token gating aspects, on being able to connect systems better, on being able to reduce fake information, being able to build more personalized solutions. And as mentioned before, it all started for us from the supply chain aspect, where we were trying to build a protocol that would enable all different manufacturers, stores, and logistics companies to communicate with one another without having to use intermediary people or third-party platforms, but to be able to communicate through an open protocol. Unfortunately, this hasn't yet succeeded. However, as we talked to over 100 companies, we understood that they are actually open to all of those ideas. It is mostly that they don't want to start with that big step, or their R&D budgets have been wasted on some wrongful starts, which may or may not include the likes of IBM, Mask, Hyperledger, promising things that were not possible with closed blockchains, but possibly are doable with the open system. And so what we're doing these days with Banana Corp is we are working with those big corporates. We decided that looking at the industry, it makes most sense for us to start working with the luxury industry, and especially with the bigger corporations, because they have the money, they have the willingness to test out different new technologies, and they also have different very specific problems that we think that we can help them solve by either introducing them to different startups that are already building solutions, or by introducing them to teams that are able to custom build those solutions for them. And our main focus these days is specifically working with the fashion companies, with the accessories businesses, so like watches and jewelry, with different travel and automotive companies, as well as wine and other spirits companies, where what we're doing is we're doing different events, both the BananaConf itself, as well as the Web3 X industry events are the ones that we're hosting, where we bring together both the big brands as well as startups and help them network. Then Banana Corp also has a department where we're doing different types of workshops together with them, teaching those brands what is actually possible so they can start delving deeper themselves. And then we have the solutions arm, where we're able to help them build solutions if they want, or introduce them to the startups. And our main focus there is supply chain again, in order to prove the provenance of the items, to reduce the fake item risk, which is often taking away the profit margins from luxury businesses, as well as the loyalty programs and reward program sides, by helping them build systems where, instead of the customer being just a number in the Excel sheet, they will be a specific person with all of their purchase history. And as a result, you can give them personalized offers. You can really push them to do some specific tasks and give them a real value, not just 5% discount if you spend 100 euros type of thing. And then we have a third part where we're looking at just all the other cool ways of how to do more collaboration between different brands and services, as well as like playing around with the idea of metaverse and gaming and everything else there. So that's basically what we're doing. So we're working with big brands, and we're helping them to do things within supply chain, loyalty programs, and understand what are other cool ways of adopting this technology.
Great. I think I totally agree. I think the technology has the potential to really build like this digital ownership is the thing, right? Maybe not in the everyone has to like store it on a cold storage, but in terms of how people relate and how the new generations also relate to something that is digital and not physical anymore, and that is maybe this has the same importance, or maybe it's even more important than like a physical flex, for example. And then, but having for the companies this underlying technology to use for this collaboration, for this loyalty, for open loyalty, maybe. I think there are some interesting things awaiting, but it may take some months, years to come to build it. So, and this also goes back to what you said before, like I think now we see like the people who are still there and not left, they are really building like the concepts that we will talk about tomorrow. And we also will talk about it on BananaConf. So I will be there for sure. I haven't been last time because I think we traveled with the family somewhere. So I couldn't come last time, but I wanted to go to Tallinn anyhow. And this year I'm coming. Maybe take us into what the BananaConf is about. We see, okay, it's not called NFT Tallinn anymore, and I think it's also a sign of the times we're in. So NFT is like, as especially I would say in Europe, maybe the US, not that much in Asia. What I could tell from my conversations, but it's a little bit burned, right? The just the name, especially some companies, they just say, okay, we don't want to call it NFT. We want to do something on blockchain with tokens, but maybe don't call it NFT. So BananaConf, you can tell, okay, it's a different name. It's a creative name already. What else is different from, let's say, other events that are in the Web3 space? So what is the vision behind BananaConf, and what can we expect?
Yeah, so in April, we'll be hosting the third edition of now named BananaConf Tallinn. And when we initially started with the event, then the idea was very simple. We had just come out of the COVID, and we had just ourselves started building within the space. So we wanted to see who else is building something. And is there any room for some sort of collaboration between the other builders? So at the first year, we just sent out the survey asking who is there, who wants to come together for a evening party. But as we got like 400 people submitting that they would want to get involved, they were like, okay, so let's do a conference. But instead of doing a normal crypto conference where we have people going on the stage shilling different tokens and NFTs and everything else, we wanted to focus only on the technology and the use cases of this at the event. So the first year we had a 1-day event. Second year we had a 2-day event. Now we're doing a 3-day event where we are ultimately talking about different real world use cases of the Web3 technologies. And when it comes to NFTs, then I personally still see that NFT is the core building block of the crypto industry, because first you have the blockchains, and that's where all the information is being stored and moved. Then you have the crypto, as in all the coins and everything else, which is kind of the payment gateway for all moving the information. But for all the information that you're actually storing on the blockchain, which you aren't usually storing, but you're just like putting the links there, then of course you can inscribe it directly into the blockchain. But in most cases, it doesn't make sense. So you want to use containers, and NFTs are those containers where you either put the full information or you put the link to the information. And as a result, most of the real world use cases these days are built on NFTs. However, we are calling them digital assets. We're calling them some other things because, as you said, the name has been somewhat ruined. But this is something that every technology always sees, that as long as it is not working or not profiting, then people are like, okay, NFT bad, digital assets good. It used to be the same thing, like AI bad, machine learning good. That's the same thing, ultimately. Like we just decide to rename some things because we don't like the other tribe. But now, coming back to the banana Thailand, then yeah, so NFTs are still a big part of it, alongside with all the protocols, all the tokens, everything else. But focus is on real world use cases. The other thing that we're doing is that we're not letting anyone shill any tokens or NFT projects from the stage. So it's just talking about what can we do with the technology and what is coming in the future, but not talking about investment advice. We may have some sessions where people might just teach you how trading works or how staking works or what are different airdrops, but that's kind of like free stuff that you're able to get, not that you have to go and buy the next meme coin. This year's event specifically is going to be slightly differently organized, as we have divided the 3 days into 3 different focuses as well. So the first day, which is executive day, only accessible for those that have the executive or above tickets, is kind of like the cream de la cream, where we bring together all the real builders, the suits, the government people, all the guys that don't have really the time to go to all the other sessions later, but they want to come together. They want to learn what is Estonia, what is the Nordic and Baltic region, how can they do business here, who are the right people they need to know, and we're talking about this side as well as like what is the funding climate, what's the future of the industry. And then the first open main day that is focused primarily on the industry use cases, where we bring together different industries. We start with fashion. We start with different luxury fields like automotive, like watches, like wine. Then we go into commerce and supply chain. We are also touching upon what else is there? The small blank, but we're talking about travel and basically like all different types of real world use cases. There will be some mentions of the financial aspect, especially from the real estate tokenization side, and some science aspect from the decentralized science side. And then of course we'll talk about like how can you as a company get started within the space, and what do you have to do to market yourself better in the space. And then the last day, we're calling it Community Day, which is focusing all things art, gaming, DeFi, all the DJ and stuff. We still will be covering all the real world use cases as well, but it's a little bit more playful side. So that's when it comes to the content. When it comes to the event in general, and then throughout the whole time, we'll be featuring a lot of art. We currently have a team of 7 artists that are curating altogether like 120 pieces of art from all around the world. We're doing different open calls at constant basis. Even now, there's one open if you go check our socials. And we're trying to pull together different types of art to then put it across the whole venue so that they would look nicer again. And we might have some art exhibitions, some more bigger things. So it's going to be not just the business side, not just the boring things, but also the fun and game side. There's also going to be a game room where you can go and play some games. Obviously, exhibition area where all the businesses are trying to show what they're doing, and some may be selling you something. And then one thing that we're doing again differently than many Web3 events, but often it's expected in the real business world, is we have a lot of networking opportunities. So we have a network application, so you can really book meetings with the right people before the event, find them at the right place at the right time, and meet with them. Not just that, hey, I'm there, you're there, let's meet at some point during the break next to the cafe. Right? Instead of that, we're saying like, you two, you're meeting at this time at this table, so that you find yourself and meet. In addition, we're doing expert hours with some of our speakers and other experts that are committing 30 minutes per person to really delve deep into fields. We're doing some like real deep workshops, so you can take even an hour to really learn things. So it's very much focused on understanding what is the next step, how the businesses can be using the technology now, as well as learning real hands-on skills during the event. And then outside the main event, we have lots of side events and parties. We even have a Tallinn hackathon happening the weekend before, which is going to be the first blockchain-focused hackathon since 2017 that's been hosted in the Nordic and Baltic region. So we're seeing a lot of excitement already from the developer crowd towards that. And hopefully we'll be getting more cool protocols to come out there to convince the developers to work exactly with them as well. And then there's like decentralized science meetup happening. There's different NFT communities are looking into doing events. We're hoping to get the Pudgy Penguins to do something, the Moonbirds to do something, Azuki to do something, obviously the Bored Apes. And so it's mostly business, but there's also lots of fun and all sorts of educational experiences.
That's a great combination. I think it shows like the focus or the refocus you made as well, and how you what you described what Banana Corp is also doing, and how you bring really together all those bright minds, right? The developers are there probably because it's connected to Ethelin, and you have the businesses, you have the companies, you have the executives, so they are there, and then you still have the something for the degens, and they also like to connect, right? So the people I met over, or we met over the last events, they also, you go there not because you want to listen to get some coins shield or some project shield. You go there because of the people, right, and the community. And I think you have a great combination. So how about the ticketing then? Do I have to have a ticket for like every day, or do you have like the same kind of categories for the tickets? And of course, please tell the people that are now interested in coming as well, because April is not that far away. So where they can get tickets, and yeah, what the tickets basically are, and which ticket is for whom.
Yeah, indeed. A real blockchain event, then we obviously have our tickets also as NFTs, uh, sold with our partners from Enter XYZ. And you can get those if you go to bananaconf.xyz and check the tickets. They will be then sent to the right link, and you'll be able to buy your NFT tickets both in with fiat and crypto. And also, if you're going there, then feel free to use the 20% discount that we've made specially for the listeners of the podcast. And it's full, all capital letters, web3 insider. We have three different types of tickets there. We have the VIP, which is for those that really want to get full access to all the events, all the side events, and get all sorts of additional VIP treatment, including some pre-booked meetings with specific speakers and government partners and all other parts. Then we have the executive ticket, which does give you access to most of the events. You'll be able to choose one of the VIP events that you might be getting in if there's room. You'll be getting to the executive day, and you'll be getting some other perks, including free food during the event as well. And then lastly, we have the general ticket for everyone that just wants to get to the main event, who wants to get to the main after party, and that doesn't want to spend too much. Compared to most other events around the world, we are rather affordable, I hope. And then there's also a offer for students. That's if you are still up and getting started, then we don't want to take all of your money or even too much of it. So then we have a special student code as well, which you can always ask from me. But other than that, we are looking at also doing some community collaborations. So last year, for example, all the Bored Apes were getting a free ticket for the event, and we'll doing it this year as well. Because if you're a part of a community, you want to get your friends to come and hang with you, which we'll be doing this year again. So yeah, if you're interested to join with us, then go to bananaconf.xyz, and you'll find the tickets there. And don't forget to use the web3 insider discount code. Unless you're an ape, then you get free tickets.
Thank you so much. So the free ticket is only for apes, right? Or do you have some other communities where you plan it as well? So for people that are like listening right now and holding, and who should wait to get a ticket, or who should directly use? Because I think right now we still have early bird prices as well, combined with and thank you again, with the discount. It makes sense to just do it now and plan ahead. But who should wait, for example? Is it apes or other projects or other like communities as well?
So we are currently working with some others. last year, we also gave the same perk for Moonbirds and Based AF. We are this year also hoping that we'll be doing something together with Moonbirds. We are also hoping for something with some other bigger communities that I don't want to right away mention, but essentially, if you are a part of a Web3 community and you want to see a collaboration between BananaConf and your community, we are always open to do that. So go talk with your community leads, make them come to us, and let's come up with a deal. Essentially, for us, giving away some free general tickets is always on the table. And then if you have this and you want to upgrade your ticket to another level, then we also have the option to do that.
All right. Thank you so much. So thank you for all the insights. I think, again, it's great what you're building. And with all the details around the conference, you can really tell that you obviously know what you're talking about and you connecting all the dots. So I'm really excited to come to Tallinn in April. So for people that want to come as well, you just heard Sander. All the links are in the show notes. Just go there, click there, and book your ticket. And Sander, the last question. So if you could give like one advice or one question or one thought or something you want to share to our listeners right now, what would it be? Can be anything.
I would say that don't take anything too seriously. It's all a game, so just enjoy playing it. And when you already start, then stick to it. Go through the whole process and catch all the hidden gems, because only then you'll be able to really succeed. From my side, I'm always a completionist. So I'm always going for the extra mile to get the 100% done. And I think that's the only way how you can really succeed in long term.
Thank you so much. I'm so with you on that. And yeah, we are probably meeting on different parts of the world, but definitely in Tallinn. Thank you so much for your time, for your insights, and see you soon.
Thank you and see you.
Peace and out. Noch ein kurzes Schlusswort in eigener Sache. Wenn du im Bereich Web3 und Metaverse auf dem Laufenden bleiben möchtest, dann abonniere den Web3 Plus N Newsletter, denn dort bekommst du 3 Tipps, Anregungen oder Gedanken von mir und das N, die News der Woche, also einfach in Bullet Points ganz knapp und knackig zusammengefasst, alles, was gerade passiert. Du bekommst einen Einblick hinter die Kulissen und hast so aktuelle Entwicklungen des Web3 immer im Blick. Das Ganze direkt in deine Inbox, ohne 24/7 auf Twitter oder Discord aktiv sein zu müssen und damit in weniger als 5 Minuten pro Woche. Der Web3 Plus N Newsletter, den Link findest du in den Shownotes. Und ja, wenn dir diese Folge gefallen hat, abonniere den Podcast, teile die Folge gerne mit Freunden oder auf Social Media und hinterlass eine Bewertung. Ich stecke sehr, sehr viel Energie und Herzblut in den Podcast und damit würdest du meinen Gästen und mir unglaublich weiterhelfen. Danke dafür, bis zum nächsten Mal. Peace and out.